So I found this pillow on Urban Outfitters. Looks like this. And it's a moon phases pillow. And I had some black linen that was just begging to be made into a moon phases pillow. So first we are going to cut our fabric. Then we are going to stitch our design on. Then we're gonna make it into a pillow. The original pillow is 16 inches by 36 inches, but we're gonna do something a bit smaller. So we're gonna do about 9 inches by 22 inches. So it'll be like a lumbar pillow. I'm going to include a 1/2 inch seam allowance on all sides. So our cutting dimensions will actually be 10 inches by 23 inches. And before I knock all of these threads on the ground, a lint roller is your friend, my friends. The particular fabric that seems like they used on the reference pillow seems to be a little bit more heavier weight fabric. And this is a linen that's very like drapey, but it also makes it, it's gonna make it a little bit harder to stitch on. So I think I'm going to use fusible interfacing on the front piece of the pillow. What is fusible interfacing? It is a type of fabric material that has glue on one side and it's smooth on the other. And you cut this out to size, however big you need it, and you iron it onto your fabric to reinforce that fabric so that it doesn't shift or move, makes it a little bit stronger. It's often used in like the collars of shirts, waistband of pants, just to give it that added strength. So I want to use it on the front of the pillow so that when we stitch through it, it stays situated where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out a 10 by 23 piece of fusible interfacing as well. And now I'm going to iron it to the front piece of our pillow. We've got both of our pieces ironed, and this front piece has fusible interfacing ironed onto the back. And next we are going to draw our moon phases. So we're going to mark the middle horizontally, vertically, and space them out appropriately so. All right, we're gonna measure All right, so we are marking the center point of each of our octants so we know where to center our circle. So I'm gonna continue to do that. I just remembered I needed to take into consideration my seam allowance. So I know I just said I marked my center spots, but I'm gonna move everything in towards the middle a little bit. I'm gonna come in 2 inches from the sides. And 1.5 inches from the top. All right, we've got our new markings. You can see that we're going off the blue markings, but basically figure out, where you want them to be on your pillow and then mark center dots. So I've got 4 dots I'm gonna put circles on top of, trace, and we're gonna base stitch around that and then stitch from the front. All right, got our 4 circles. You can see that. Now we're just gonna draw on the phases of the moon. Now that we've got our moon phases mapped out, we are going to do a basting stitch. Hello, this is voiceover me explaining to you what a basting stitch is because I did a really bad job here. A basting stitch is a long straight stitch that you use to indicate on the back of the fabric where top stitching should be on the front of the fabric. It is also used for many other things like gathering fabric, but today we are going to use it as an indication of where our top stitch should be for these moons. Yes, let me show you. On my machine to a straight stitch. I'm gonna go to the stitch length, take it up as high as it'll go. That's it. So we're taking out our bobbin thread, putting in our new bobbin thread of a contrasting color so we can see it from the front. And then just gonna start on this one that's just one circle. And you wanna take this slow since it is a circle. You just want to go very slow here. You want to guide the fabric as slow as possible, turning with every stitch. If you have to stop and lift up the presser foot, that's totally okay. You just want to make sure it's a nice, clean curve. It's going to look like that on the front. And we're going to do that to every single circle and the moon phase, and this is what it looks like on the back. So I finished my basting stitches. So as you can see, we've got our basting stitches marking out where all of the moons are going to be. And I was looking through my threads and I found this thread that I got forever ago. It's this Gutermann, I don't even know, it's just this thicker thread. Once you choose which thread you'd like to use, make sure to always test your stitches to see what it looks like. You can use a top stitch thread like I am, or you can use 2 threads like I did here to make it look like it's a thicker thread. All right, so we've got our first moon done. I'm gonna be honest, this took like a lot of time, at least 20 minutes. The front looks great. I was gonna pull all the threads to the back and then tie them off, but this is what the back looks like. It's a mess. So I think I might just leave it like this on the back, or just like tie off what I can. So progress on this pillow. It's turning out great, but it's taking forever. So heads up, if you're gonna do this, it does take some time. It's looking real cute. I still have to pull all these to the back, but this has taken me at least like 2 hours. But we persevere. An hour later, and I have finished the front. I think it looks pretty amazing. But the back is an absolute mess. And I ran out of thread at the end, so I had to hand stitch a little bit of it. So I'm gonna show you that now, in case you want to hand stitch the whole thing. Kind of worked out. And I'm gonna take out all the basting stitches and show you that process. And then we can sew the pillow together. Ah. All right, I'm whispering because it's 1:12 in the morning. I've just finished taking out all the basting stitches, and I was too lazy to tie off all the individual threads. I just tied them in like big knots behind each one. So I'm gonna finish this tomorrow and show you guys what it looks like when it's all done. But this is what it looks like right now, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. So stay tuned. It is day 2, and I've awoken with new energy. Oh, what's this, you may be asking yourself? Oh, that's the pillow front that we finished yesterday. We're gonna stick to our pillow plan. And this is the easy part. This should not be complicated, and it should not take a long time. What we're going to do is pin all of the sides together, leaving a 4 to 5 inches on the bottom, not in a corner, but in like a bottom seam, open. so that we can flip it inside out, stuff it, and then stitch it up. We're going to take both pieces right sides together. So we're putting the good side against the other good side of the fabric, pinning the edges, and we're going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we're going to stitch a 1/2 inch with a straight stitch from the edge, making sure to back stitch at the beginning and the end of our stitch, leaving that hole open. All right, so I have done my 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. And what we want to do now, in order to get crisp corners on really anything when you're sewing a corner, is to grade the seam allowances. What that means usually is if you have a 1/2 inch seam allowance, you're cutting that seam allowance down to something like 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch so that there's less bulk. And in the corners, you want to cut the corners diagonally. Sewing's one of the only places you can cut corners. And now I am flipping the pillow right side out, pulling the pillow through that hole that we left. Right, so what I use to push the corners out is a knitting needle. You want something dull enough that you're not going to poke through the fabric, but it is very important. So we're going to kind of work the fabric to the corner. That's another reason you want to cut your corners. As you can see, I left this open. This is where I flipped it out, and this is where we're also going to stuff it. You can either use polyfill, you can use fabric scraps, you can use old t-shirts to stuff your pillow, or if you have an old pillow that you don't like, you can take the polyfill out of it and use it, which is what I'm going to be doing today. I think it's important to say that I'm not a master at stuffing pillows, but what I can recommend is to push stuffing into the corners of the pillows first, and then massage it and punch it a lot until it's not lumpy. Those are my tips. All right, we are at the stage of wanting to close the pillow up. This is what it looks like. Honestly, maybe my best work. I'm really proud of it. So what we need to do now is fill this hole, and we're gonna do that by doing a ladder stitch. So let me show you what that is. This is why it's called a ladder stitch, because it's got these straight stitches going all the way across. And just to show you guys, what I did is I went like a stitch from here to here, and then over to here, and over. You want to keep these stitches loose, but you do that all the way down, and then at the end, but then you just pull it taut. And it's so satisfying, and you should get a pretty clean seam. And you'll just tie that off by going under one of the threads that you did, make a little knot, pull taut, and then do that again. Let me show you guys what it looks like in a space. Yay! If you like this video, please like it and subscribe if you want to see more things like this. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this brought joy to your day, and I would love to see if you make any of these. So please tag me on Instagram or comment below. I'd love to hear. All right, bye guys. Oh, I just thought of my favorite like autumn going into winter show, and it's Outlander. Polyfill.